Welcome to the Verdin Sports Show. I'm your host, Jacob Verdin. I hope everybody's having a good morning. We're joined live by my guy, John Eads from WAFB. John, good morning, man. Appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, good morning, Jacob. I know we've had plans to do this many times, and you're in college, and I'm working full-time job and stuff, so busy schedules. I'm glad we could finally link up here, though. I'm very happy to be on with you.
Got it to work out, man. Shout out AI Young Boy in the back,
Yes,
getting it going. Let's talk about this AFC title game, John. I know everybody's been waiting. Everybody's been wondering who's going to be in the Super Bowl in New Orleans. It's about an hour away. Tickets are too expensive. I ain't going to be in it. That's for damn sure. I'll be at home watching on the television set. And honestly, I'll be watching a matchup that I've seen before. It's going to be 2 years in a row of a Super Bowl matchup. You got the Eagles. You got the Chiefs. At least for the Chiefs side, I'm going to be honest, I'm not surprised. I feel like everybody kind of expected this one. Close game for a little bit, but all in all, Josh Allen falls short again, John. Falls short again. I mean, and there's really not much that you could say to give him an excuse, right? I mean, you had the final shot. You had the clock on your side. You had really everything in your favor, and it just didn't work out. The defense got to you. I feel like I really don't know how hard I'm going to harp on Josh Allen here. All I'm going to say is if the Chiefs really go out and get a three-peat, I'm going to be shocked. I didn't think it was going to happen at first in terms of like the beginning of the year, how kind of rough that they were. It didn't seem like they were on their chief stride. And then into the season, they got 15 wins and they're pretty much a shoo-in once again. So Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, I'll even throw Kareem Hunt in there. They got a lot of pieces that they've been able to kind of utilize and captivate. What was your reaction to this AFC title game, John?
Yeah, I had the Bills going to the Super Bowl in my bracket. I just thought that this was finally the time that they would get it done against the Chiefs. I saw them play against the Detroit Lions because I'm from Detroit, so I'm a Lions fan. And, man, they beat the Lions in the Motor City and put up 50 on them, if I'm not mistaken. They looked dominant. And I thought that Josh Allen had been through these trials and tribulations so many times. He'd been in this exact game in this exact stadium before. This was the time that he would find a way to get it done. The Chiefs have won one-score games the whole season. You know, I had to think that they'd maybe – they even played the Bills, and they lost, right, if I'm not mistaken, earlier in the season. So they've done it once before. I know it's hard to beat a team twice, 3 times in the same season, but I just thought this was finally the time. You know, Buffalo's got that reputation of making it to the same point of the season over and over again and losing and not getting over the hump. Obviously, the 4 falls of Buffalo in the 90s there. And I guess that's just what the situation is, man. I don't know what it is about Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, but they just find ways to win games. And I feel bad for Josh because you could see on the broadcast after, Dalton Kincaid, that's a basketball player. Kincaid dropped that pass that would have converted a first down, put them potentially in field goal range. And Mahomes, obviously, they go and they kill the rest of the clock. He just looks defeated, man. Like he's got nothing left. It's like, you fail at something once. Okay, you understand the assignment. Let's try it again. You fail it the second time. Okay, that's cool. We can do this. Let's learn from this and move forward. You lose again. It's just like you keep getting to the same situation, and just for whatever reason, you keep failing. Like Buffalo has won a lot. Like what they've done since Allen has been there is incredible. They've won the division. They've made it to the championship game. They've won a lot of games in the regular season. But at a certain point, you kind of take that for granted, and you're like, okay, but what else can we do? Can we get to the Super Bowl? Can we win the Super Bowl? And for whatever reason, they just keep falling short. And I don't know what it's going to take for them to get over the hump, short of Mahomes getting hurt and not being on the field.
Yeah, right. And then, I mean, just to talk about like them constantly coming up short every single year, it feels like some players just get caught in that era. Some players got, whether it be the Michael Jordans, the Kobe Bryants, the LeBron James, there's some players that just have your number and just stop you on your way to the promised land. There's been a lot of, almost in sports histories. I mean, we can bring it to basketball again. Allen Iverson, Charles Barkley. There's a lot of players who have been phenomenal, who have carried their teams, who have made immense legacies, and they just can't win the big one. The big one's always elusive. I mean, in football, you don't really see this with this guy, with this comparison, but you kind of saw the competition start to just wear him down a little bit. And Louisiana fans aren't going to want to hear this comparison, but it's Drew Brees. I mean, Tom Brady was winning all the rings, and then Drew Brees has one, and Drew Brees is always coming up so short, maybe even a Peyton Manning.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's tough when you're at the top, when you've got the perfect situation. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, great mindset, great leader. But then Andy Reid, phenomenal coach, really creative, listens to his personnel and adapts to his personnel. We listen to Brian Kelly at the bowl game, at the Texas Bowl, talk about why Dave Aranda was so good, right? He's talking about, I'm not just going to be sticking to this play come hell or high water. If we got to change and my guys are not fit to what I want to do, I'm adapting. I'm not sticking to it. And I feel like that aspect of coaching is what kept the Chiefs future-proof. At the end of the day, you lose Tyreek Hill, you lose this, you lose that, and you rinse and repeat year after year after year. So much so where a generational talent in Tyreek Hill looks foolish for even leaving Kansas City.
Seriously, yeah. No, this is an underrated thing that I heard just listening to the game yesterday. Andy Reid, I forgot about this. Winning as coach, both with Philadelphia and Kansas City. I mean, wherever they go, wherever he goes, his team wins. And this year, they had Isaiah Pacheco injury early in the season. They had to bring in Kareem Hunt, who I didn't even know was still really playing football like that.
Right.
They bring in DeAndre Hopkins. I'm sorry if I'm missing these. I don't know why I'm like off. But they made moves and they did what they needed to do to piece together this roster. Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, the rookie stepping up. Like, they just found the pieces they needed to continue cooking the same thing. Like, all you need are the ingredients. You have the recipe. Now you got to put it together. And Andy Reid just does that every year, no matter who's on the roster, who's not on the roster. So winning is just in their DNA. This is something we haven't seen before in NFL history, and I know it annoys a lot of people. It annoys me because I like seeing new teams and not the same matchups. I was in Phoenix for this Super Bowl 2 years ago when it was Chiefs and Eagles, and the Eagles are dominant. They ran the NFC. I don't think if the Lions beat the Commanders, they would have beaten Philly, even at home. I mean, they have so many pieces on offense. We'll probably get into that. The defense is dominant. And then on the other side, there are more talented teams than the Chiefs. The Ravens are probably more talented. The Bills are probably more talented on the AFC side. But the Chiefs just find ways to win. And that's why they've done what they've done over the past half decade.
It's very impressive for sure. I mean, it's one of those moments that even if you're not the biggest fan, sometimes you just got to soak it up, appreciate the greatness. Sometimes you just got to realize this ain't going to be around much longer. Tom Brady, stuff like that. Patrick Mahomes, soak it up. Let's bring this up real quick before we talk about the NFC title. Super Bowl color conspiracy, John. The logo, does it hold value? I mean, you see it last year a little bit. I mean, they kind of had some purple on there, so I'll give them a pat. But the green and the red, man, I mean, look, Antonio Brown tweeted it. And the minute I saw AB posted, I'm like, you know what? I see the vision. CTESPN went out there and held the NFL accountable for this. That would be interesting. Let's talk about the NFC title game, though. Mr. Saquon Barkley. Oh, my God. You had Kayvon Thibodeau from the New York Giants tweeting live during the game, just summarizing what every New York Giants fan felt internally. Just pain and agony. I mean, what was it? 3 touchdowns. The first play of the game. It doesn't even matter how many touchdowns it was. Let's talk about how he got the first one. Commanders go down, get the 3-0 score. I believe they had to go for it on 4th down, maybe even a couple times.
Yeah, they did. Yep.
Eagles come back out, and they're like, you know what? That's cute. You struggled? That's cute. Watch this. Snap the ball, one play, boom. Boom. And what does our guy G Sports say? Hit his head off the damn goalpost. I mean, it looked like nobody could slow down Saquon Barkley. We got a clip of Jayden Daniels reacting to it, and I think it's just about everybody's reaction. But let's play the clip real quick here.
Yeah, obviously, man, it sucks, man. It just sucks. Excuse my language. But just, I couldn't be prouder of the guys in the locker room. You know, just year one, everybody not really knowing each other. Rookies, the best did a tremendous job of, you know, bringing us in and helping us out. And we all just meshed, and you know, we got to this point. But at the end of the day, man, you know, we lost. It sucks. But we'll move on from this.
So I'm gonna spin this segment into a positive. That's how we do it over here. We like to be optimistic, right?
Sure.
Let's give our brief summary, and then we'll get into what I think could be potentially the best rookie season by any NFL athlete ever, any position, any draft class, any year of all time. So D-line pressure, once again, very big theme in this game. If you've got a defense that can get a quarterback off a spot and change an offensive scheme, you got something brewing. You got some type of confusion that you're able to concoct. Then not only to mention the turnovers, the fumble specifically. I think that lost them the game. It seemed like every damn time you needed momentum, that you had it kind of going in your favor, you couldn't hold on to the football. John, what was your reaction to this, and just how did it feel? Did you think the Commanders had a shot? What was your overall vibe going into this?
Yeah, certainly. I think it was just one of those days. They've won so many games this year. They beat the Lions. They beat the brakes off the Lions really last week, and they played dominant complementary football. And they just didn't in this game for a couple different reasons. I'll say this. I don't think they lost this game because of Jayden Daniels. His stats were fine. The offensive line struggled, which forced him to get out of the pocket, maybe make decisions quicker than he wanted to. And that's because Sam Cosmi, one of their guards, tore his ACL last week. So, you have the same offensive line for the most part all year. You change that going into your biggest game of the season, the NFC Championship, you're going to have some problems, especially against, like you mentioned, the Eagles' defensive line, which is dominant and can create a lot of havoc. I think that the turnovers were a big factor. It's just a lot of bounce of ball situations, like De'Ami Brown fumbles on a drag route near midfield. That was actually the first turnover of the whole postseason. So they hadn't really done that's why they've gone on this run. They've taken care of the ball. They've done things you need to do to win on the road as the lower seeded team. You had the fumble on the kickoff with less than 2 minutes left in the first half. That led to an Eagles touchdown. So they go touchdown, fumble, touchdown, and then they're up 15 points on you, and you're getting behind. And then later on in the game, you had that Austin Eckler fumble when it was 34-23. Commanders are driving, chance to cut it down to a 3-point game, possibly with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. And on that play, I think that was maybe Jayden had a couple mistakes in this game. That was one of them. He had to, get out of the pocket quickly. Eckler was running a drag. He threw it behind him. He fell down. Then Eckler had to get up, and then the ball got punched out. That one, I think, was kind of on Jayden a little bit. But these other things, De'Ami Brown fumbling, the kickoff fumble, those aren't on him. It's just one of those days. One other point I had is that I think Washington got away from what they've been doing all year, really, going forward on fourth down, staying aggressive, being the hunter instead of the hunted. So they converted 2 fourth downs on their opening possession. They get down deep into Eagles territory. It's 4th and 3. They decide to kick a field goal. Why? You'd already converted 2 4th and shorts. Why are you kicking a field goal? Opening drive, chance to really take the crowd out of it early. So they kick the field goal. They don't go for it on 4th and 3. And then Saquon comes out and pots that touchdown on the Eagles' first play. So they just didn't do what they've done all year from a play calling schematic standpoint, and then also turning the ball over. If you turn the ball over like that on the road against Philly, you tell me that before the game, I don't think you're going to win.
No, yeah, the kickoff fumble really hurt so bad. Damn good peanut punch on the Austin Eckler fumble. Yes. Took me back to my CFB 25 days. That took me back to hitting RB, trying to get some damn magic happening. Let's look at these numbers, though. I said best rookie season. I'm coming with facts, guys. Found this graphic on Twitter. Shout out Stathead Football. Jayden Daniels rookie season versus Lamar Jackson 2023 MVP campaign. Now, I'm going to note there's obviously one more game played. Jayden has 17 games. Lamar has 16. So we're going to point that out here first. Passing yard wise, Jayden is trailing, but barely, about 100 yards. 25 passing touchdowns to 24. 9 interceptions to 7. So he's got one more passing touchdown, but 2 more interceptions. Rushing yard wise, 70 more rushing yards, 1 more rushing touchdown. Now, I'm not sitting here trying to say Lamar Jackson is not as good as Jayden Daniels. I'm not making that comparison. What I'm saying is that Jayden Daniels is doing something unprecedented. He's doing something to the point where everybody thought a rookie quarterback for the first time in NFL history was going to make a Super Bowl, John. I was convinced. I was ready to sport the 5 burgundy on Bourbon Street if I had to give him the extra juju. Most touchdowns ever by a rookie, 30 passing, 7 rushing. Like we said, ended Washington's 20-year playoff drought. Here's simply put, most quarterbacks that get drafted in the beginning of the NFL draft, if you're getting drafted 1st, 2nd, 3rd, you're not going in a good spot. You're going to a team that's been losing, one of the worst teams in the NFL. More often than not, you're not going to turn around that situation. Jayden has done it instantaneously, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the offseason. How do you rebuild? What kind of pieces do you go grab? Because at first, I don't think they were thinking they were immediately in this conversation. Maybe not even immediately in the playoff picture. Now you go from rebuilding and grabbing pieces to, holy shit, we got a window open right now. Let's go, surround them with insane talent. I'm interested to see what they do in the offseason, who they target, and how they try to continue this production. Because if Jayden's touching these numbers, MVP-like numbers right now, next year they could really make a push for the Super Bowl. I'm not going to lie.
Seriously. I think that they opened their window earlier than they thought it would open, which is good because they got a lot of young players, Jayden, Mike Sanders still, and then a lot of free agents who I think they could keep. You know, they signed last year on deals that are pretty cheap. You know, Terry McLaurin, I feel like you're the number one guy in this offense. Why would you want to go anywhere else? You know, De'Ami Brown, Austin Eckler. Like, I think they're in a really good situation because they're not going to have guys jump ship. Because I don't think they even planned on winning a dozen games this year and making this deep run into the playoffs. So it's not like you're in the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills situation where you're trying to keep everything together. I think they've got the foundation laid. Now they can go out and really get some high-level free agents. And it's not a situation where you're selling them, hey, we want to win here. We have a championship roster. You just saw it. They made it to the NFC Championship game in Dan Quinn's first year with a rookie quarterback. That's going to be an attractive landing spot for free agents who want to go somewhere and win. So I think the world is their oyster. They can really go out and be as aggressive as they want. And as long as you've got the quarterback, you've got what you need. Like, I remember I went and did a tryout in Buffalo. I was trying to get a job out there coming out of college. And we did a rehearsal debate show thing. And the question was, is the Bills Super Bowl window still open? And this was 2 years ago because people thought the Josh Allen boat had come and gone, and the Bills were about to be trending down. Yet here they are. They were just in the AFC Championship game. You got the quarterback, you're good. All you got to do is put the pieces around it. So Washington's set for the next, as long as they keep Jayden healthy and everything, like 5 years at the very least. Now it's just a matter of filling the holes that you were lacking in, getting more talented at some spots, because that wasn't the best version of the Commanders that we'll see in Jayden's time in Washington. They're going to go and get some pieces, especially after what they did this year. And I'm glad you showed me that graphic comparing Lamar to Jayden, because that's unbelievable. You know, I didn't know his numbers were that good. I knew he was having a pretty good season, but I thought it was more of the defense playing good complementary ball and Jayden having a pretty good year. But no, I mean, those are great numbers. And I think the thing about Jayden that's going to make him more successful and continuing his success that he's experienced is just how mentally strong he is. You know, nothing phases him. He's so locked in. He studies film like crazy. Like, he would wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m. here at LSU grinding film. And that's why he's so good. He comes into the game more prepared than he needs to be. You know, he's taken hours and hours to study for this test, that when he gets it, it's, you know, and he finishes it. He's the first one done with the test. You know, it's done in 15 minutes because everything's jammed up here, and he knows the answer to every question. So he's a generational talent. He's going to get many awards after this season, and there are many more to come in the next decade for him.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things with Jayden. It's like, you're not going to be able to get to see this again. It makes you want to just, you know, soak it up and be grateful and appreciative that you got to witness something like that. You got to keep Cliff Kingsbury, though. Word on the street, he's got some head coaching rumors, and he says he wants to stay. He says he wants to hold back, and he's got a great opportunity because, like you said, that window it's propped open. You got a steel beam in the middle of the window. Nothing's closing it. I think you got some good structural integrity right there on that chance, that opportunity. Stay. Why not? This is your best opportunity.
It reminds me, it's the same thing as Ben Johnson with the Lions last year. Like, he was looking at jobs in Washington, different places to be a head coach after having a good year as the OC, but he decided to come back. This year, he was like the number one guy at the top of the list for people who wanted to hire head coaches. And I think Cliff Kingsbury could be the same way. He could probably get a job this year. I mean, shoot, I think Saints fans would not mind having him, but I think it's more advantageous for him to take one more year, build up a little more clout, and then come next season when some of these high-profile jobs open up like they do every year, it seems, he'll be the number one guy and ready to hop back into that head coaching role. But you're not going to keep him longer than that. That's the thing about the league, man. When you got a good coordinator like that, there have been exceptions over the years, but it's only a matter of time before they go. But to me, I don't care who the OC is, because Jayden put up numbers here with Mike Denbrock, did it in Washington with Cliff Kingsbury. Like, I feel like it doesn't matter who the coordinator is. They're going to build that offense around Jayden. And just his intrinsic abilities and athleticism, like everything, his makeup, he'll be successful in any offense, minus the triple option. Even then, he'd probably be okay in the triple option.
Well, before we get out of this, one more thing I want to talk about Jayden, just like that comment he made in his Heisman speech, saying like it's crazy what 1 year of hard work can do for you, right? And just looking at the story, what everybody thought of Jayden entering his first year or exiting his first year starting. Everybody was kind of like, I don't know if this is the guy. I don't know if he's got it. I don't know. They were all kind of confused. He's, doesn't declare for the draft, comes back to LSU, does that VR training, and he enters the labbed up, changed his life, Heisman run, both of the wide receivers around him, even. It was one of those masterclass performances that you really just, like I said, gotta appreciate, because it ain't coming again. And if it does, it's gonna be years from now, and I don't know. Now, I say it's not coming again, but LSU's had it twice in 4 years, so you never know. You really never know anymore. Let's talk about an LSU athlete I feel like a lot of people have been keeping their eyes on. Trey Grayson. He's been taking the world by storm after this block and dunk clip. Pretty much went coast to coast with it. The big man slamming it down on top of Nate Oates in Alabama. Every LSU fan loves to see this. John, got to open the floor to the fans, to you. How much longer is this going to be a thing? How much longer does Trey Grayson play ball? I know this year the answer's pretty easy, right? Spring ball's starting soon. Tournament's also starting, and I don't believe LSU men's basketball will be in the tournament, so it looks like he'd have a nice door to enter or exit, rather, the season. But going forward, does he play another year after this season for football? Does it become too valuable, and they have to just be like, hey, hoop dreams are done?
Yeah, I was having this exact conversation the other day. I just don't see it being something that continues long term. Now, can he do it? Yes, without a doubt. It's difficult going from sport to sport. You're prone to injury. Football conditioning, physical shape is a lot different than basketball. You got to be bulked up and have meat on your bones to take hits when you run across the middle. Yep. Basketball, you got to be able to run like 5 miles over the course of 2 hours. You know what I mean? And have that quick step, quick burst, which he has. But as you gain weight, which as a tight end or a flex tight end, you're going to need to do, it's just hard to put that weight on. And then it all comes off during basketball season. So that's why I think after this year, it's not going to happen, because the coaching staff's going to sit down with Trey Dez, and he's going to have a breakout sophomore year and realize, hey, if I want to go to the league and be that guy, make the millions of dollars, I'm going to have to commit to one, because you really can't do both, especially the position he plays. If you played wide receiver, you could probably get away with it. But if you want to be a tight end on the line, that's a two-way guy, can chip a little bit, but can also go out and run routes, you got to keep building your body up, man. You got to keep putting lean muscle mass on, getting your numbers up, and keeping that speed. And I just don't think that it's advantageous for him to do all of that training, spring, summer, play in the fall, and then go and run a lot, because it's science. The more you run, the more weight you lose. That's why basketball players, for the most part, aren't big and built, because you just can't build muscle, really, a lot of muscle, when you're running so much. So I think that they're going to have a meeting with him after this year saying, hey, look, do you want to continue playing 2 sports? If so, that's fine. He can do that, certainly. Or do you want to commit to football, go to the league, be a high draft pick, and realize all your football potential? Because if he's going to do that, I don't think he can continue playing football. He's got to basketball. I'm sorry. He's got to devote all of his time to the gym, to the weight room, to everything related to football. So I think this is a one and done year. It's a bummer, because I think he's a great athlete, and LSU could use him. As you saw, he played 9 minutes, had that play, and he's only going to get better. He hasn't played actual basketball in a couple of years. He didn't have a senior year season at Zachary because of transfer rules and stuff. But he's a heck of an athlete. I just don't see it being a thing that continues long term.
Yeah, the conditioning thing is a big aspect to it. And then the injury, everybody gets worried about the potential injuries. And yeah, another last little leg, I'll talk about this on the amount of opportunity in the NBA. Was there 30 teams? You got 15 people on a roster. Let's say 2 spots open up. That's 60 openings in the NBA every offseason, potentially, on a perfect scenario. Now, for a 6'7" tight end, you probably got 4 opportunities on every single team on the NFL
Yeah.
because you got like what 80 people on the damn roster. Maybe it goes down to 60 when it's in the NFL. But either way, you've got dozens and dozens. I would say on average 5 to 10 spots per team. You multiply that by 30. Now you're looking at 100, 200 spots. It's an abundance of roles in the NFL. While in the NBA, you've got one thing you can do, and everybody's your height. Go play tight end in the NFL at 6'7" and do what you do. You're Megatron. I mean, we talk about Calvin Johnson and what he's been able to do for years. The impact has still been being felt. 6'7" point forwards, power forwards, whatever the case may be in the NBA, is common. Matter of fact, it's average, John.
Yeah.
So I feel like if he stays in that football realm, he's unique. He's another potential generational talent. But if he goes in that basketball realm, I think it fizzles out. I think he meets people that are kind of similar to him. It's to be an anomaly in basketball, you got to be Wemby. Got to be 7'3", yakking threes, doing it all, going coast to coast, dribbling. It's tough.
Yeah. He could, he has such God-gifted talent as an athlete, just his burst, his verticality, all of it. If he chooses one, he could make it on either one, but you can't do both.
No.
It's not in the cards once you get to college. And obviously when you play, you can't pull a Deion Sanders. I mean, he probably could, but you can't really pull a Deion Sanders and play pro football. That's just not logistically possible, obviously. He could. I just think his football potential is too sky high.
Yeah.
And I think the coaches are going to see that. And eventually he'll see that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a waste. That's all.
I agree. Let's transition, switch gears into our last segment, LSU Baseball. John, you've been out there. Scrimmage, notes, practice, press conferences. Been doing it all. 18 days until the season starts. Number 1 ranked freshman class per D1 Baseball. Number 3 preseason rating. Is it too high? Is it too low? Are you feeling just right? What's the vibes like at the box?
Vibes are good. I'm excited about this team. I think it's different from last year. And Jay Johnson said this at his media day press conference, that it's a good collection of talent. They have a lot of individual players. Now they got to come together as a team. And it's going to be a little different than last year in the sense that last year you had some more star power from an individuality standpoint. You had Tommy White, you had Hayden Travinski, you had 2 dominant pitchers, Gage Jump, Luke Holman. This year it's going to be more about a sum of the parts versus 1 or 2 dominant guys. I think number 3, to be honest with you, just looking at this from a bird's eye perspective, is a little bit too high. I think that could be where they get eventually. Coming into the season, though, I have my doubts and my questions, and I'll tell you why. First of all, they're losing 2 of their top 3 power hitters, Hayden Travinski, Tommy White. They combined for 40 home runs. Jared Jones is the lone returnee. He had 28. So on offense, you're losing some of that power, the guys that you rely on to score runs. This year, it's going to be different. Like, instead of a Tommy White, ooh and ah, grand slam, it's going to be a guy taking a walk, a guy bunting to advance the runner, someone hitting a sac fly to drive in a run. Like, it's going to be more of manufacturing offense, stealing bases, aggressive base running, more so than it is the highlight reel home runs, doubles, triples. I think that they have a lot of ingredients, and now the question is, can they put it together? And it's going to take some time. It took time last year, kind of. Like, I know they came out hot. They got to number 2 in the country. They won that Houston showcase deal. They beat Texas. They were like 20 and 22 and whatever it was. Then they really struggled once they hit SEC play because it was kind of fool's gold. They thought they had everything in order, but it's a long baseball season, Jacob, and the SEC is the best conference in college baseball. So you're going to go through the lumps and face adversity. They didn't face that early in the season. Eventually, they found the winning recipe. They figured it out, and it wasn't too late. They almost won the SEC in Hoover. They made it to the regional. They came 1 run, really 1 strike short of hosting a super regional and more than likely making the College World Series. So as of right now, looking at the roster, seeing what I've seen, I see the potential, but I don't think they're a top 3 team in the country right now. I think they can get there.
That's fair. And let's talk about that third base position. I saw some of your videos and some of your coverage. You were talking about Michael Braswell being at that third base spot. Is that for sure? Is that locked? And just kind of talk about how important that role is to their defense and just, how much change could really be around if they go in that direction. I feel like Braswell is one of my biggest watches, right? He's a pure athlete. I feel like he's your utility guy. What did he play shortstop last year?
Yes. Yep. Everyday
So what's
shortstop.
that switch like?
So it's not solidified yet, and they're doing a lot of moving around. Like, I've got to keep my eye open because sometimes they'll have Milam at short, Braz at third, and then the next inning they'll go Milam at third, Braz at short. Daniel Dickinson, I'll say this. He's the guy they got from Utah Valley. He's one of those really good transfers. Like, everybody wanted him. And if he has the season that they expect him to have, he'll go pro next year. He's locked into second base, I think. He's been playing there a lot. I think Milam's moving to the left side of the infield because Jay Johnson wants his best defender in the position where most of the balls are going to go, which is the left side. So it's just a matter of, is Milam going to play third or short? And I think he's going to end up at shortstop. But there is a caveat to that. You mentioned Braswell. I didn't really know this until the other day when we talked to him. He had knee tendonitis in both of his knees last year for the first half of the season. And then out of nowhere, he flipped the switch. He hit better. He was fielding better. And this was the second half of the season. Of course, that insane game against South Carolina and Hoover when he hit the game-winning RBI and stuff, that's when he was playing his best, and it's because he was fully healthy. He's still healthy, and he's feeling the best that he has at LSU. He said he's ready for his best season yet. So I wonder, fully healthy, if some of the struggles he had fielding at shortstop last year were because of those injuries, and if he's in a situation where he can play better at that spot. But Milam, you can't dispute the athleticism, the playmaking ability, his lateral quickness. Like, he makes some insane plays, man, getting a grounder, gloving it to second base, like stuff you see pros do all the time. He's already done as a freshman and will do as a sophomore. So I don't think you can go wrong wherever you put him. You want him in the spot where he's going to make the most plays. And I think that could be at shortstop, just based on, like, literally plays you don't see people make, the unique things that he can do with his glove, with his hands, and then just the quickness that he has, almost like a running back, how he's able to stutter, shuffle, move. The one thing he's got to continue to show me and other people, I think there are people that were getting on me on X yesterday, his throw power, his ability to throw cross diamond from short. I don't think it's a problem, but that is a different dynamic throwing from second, which is shorter, versus across on that side. So it's not solidified. I would expect to see Milam on the left side of the infield, though.
Okay. Milam, he reminds me of Jose Altuve, man. He's got that good defensive ability, but then he got a yappa. He can still take a yard. He got a good mindset, go yard mentality, man. The little man's strength. The three guys I'm watching, you named pretty much all three of them. Obviously, Jared Jones, first baseman, hit 301 last year. The Chapel Hill series, 538. Seemed like he just put the team on the back for a little bit. Monster Milam, fan favorite. Like I said, Altuve, go yard mentality. Then Michael Braswell. I just feel like there's something about him. They got some type of ability you just don't see often. Reminds me of a guy like Trey Morgan. I just feel like he's going to be a good piece to this team. So if you had to make a prediction, John, where would you predict LSU baseball finishing and how is the year end for them?
I could see them getting to Omaha. I think it's a more favorable schedule this year. Last year, when they started SEC play, they played like the best teams right off the bat. This year, you play non-conference, and then you get to start with Missouri, a team that's typically, and it's at home, not one of the better teams in the SEC. Everybody's decent, but, they're beatable. It's not Mississippi State on the road or
right.
Tennessee on the road in Knoxville like they had to do last year. Then they get Texas. They're new to the SEC. They beat them last year, LSU did, so we'll see what happens there. Then you got MSU at home, at Oklahoma. So it's not bad. Auburn, who you beat last year a couple times. It's not a bad schedule. It's not heavy at the front. And I think by the time they play these better teams, Tennessee, A&M in May, Arkansas in May, that will be the best version of LSU baseball. So it's going to be flipped around, I think. They're going to find their stride quicker than they did last year. So I think they can get there. I talked to Ben McDonald at their first pitch banquet. He thinks they have what it takes to get there. And I know he's an LSU alum and does the games for them. And he might be a little biased, but that's a guy that played in the major leagues for years. I mean, I'm going to trust his opinion for sure. I think they can get there. I just have my questions right now. Where does the offense come from? Pitching. This is an underrated topic people have not talked about. Luke Holman, drafted. They had the most pitchers drafted off last year's team that they've ever had. Gage Jump, they're Friday and Saturday guys, gone. Who steps up? Chase Shores is a guy people like to think will step up, but he's had his struggles in preseason and in the fall. It's not a lock that he's going to come in and be a Friday night guy and dominate, kind of like Thatcher Hurd last year. Everybody thought Thatcher Hurd was going to come back and be the alpha, and he really wasn't. Now, he ended his career well, but he wasn't what people thought he would be. Cade Anderson's looked really good, but he's only a sophomore. He hasn't really been in the bright lights, big game, extended start situation yet. So I've got my questions right now, and I think they're fair questions, but I do think Jay Johnson, the excellent coach that he is, will find the solutions over the course of the season and have this team playing winning baseball when it matters most, which is in May and June.
Yep. Jay Johnson, the Mad Hatter, mad scientist in the kitchen whipping it up right now. I believe. I hope they host one, because
That'd be cool.
The pitching struggles you were talking about last year, if that comes back, then you're going to have a lot of fans worrying, because in the initial parts of the baseball season, everybody was wondering, where was LSU baseball at? They got used to that instant success.
Right. Yeah, the pitching last year was top heavy. They didn't have a Sunday starter. You know, they would bring different guys out each week and they would just get bombed and the game was over by the fourth inning. The bullpen had its struggles. They've got a really good collection of talent this year. They brought in some starters from smaller schools. They've got a lot of intriguing pieces there. They bring back some guys from last year that played a little bit, showed some flashes. So they're deep. But I don't think they're top heavy this year. They're going to have to find their starters. I think they got plenty of options in the bullpen. But like I said about the offense, Jacob, this might be one of those teams where it's a lot of hands getting involved and it's piecing things together. It's not Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, Trey Morgan, college baseball superstars. It's kind of like Moneyball. It's just a lot of guys that have specific responsibilities and they do their job well and they execute. And when you put that all together on a consistent basis, you've got a great team. And I think that's how it's going to be this season.
I agree. It's a good way to start it off, right? Just have your role, fixate on your job, do the little things, and then it'll carry you into a potential Omaha tourney run. I'm looking forward to it. Appreciate your time, John. Appreciate everybody who watched and stopped by with us this morning. Go follow my guy John on Twitter at John Eads, WAFB. We'll drop it in the description. We'll be live Wednesday at 9 a.m. again. You'll hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything else. John, if you got anything to say on the way out, I'll give you the floor.
Nothing really, man. I'm excited for baseball season. It's coming up in a couple weeks. But in the intermediate, LSU women's basketball lost at South Carolina. I'm excited to see how they respond, bounce back. And men's basketball, I think that they're going to find something in February. The schedule eases up a little bit after they play Auburn. I think people should pump the brakes a little bit on Matt McMahon and team slander. I think that they could turn this thing around, at least maybe push to get back to 500 in the next month and a half.
Okay.
That's it.
Little SEC run.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for having me too, by the way. I want to say that. I know we've been trying to link up for a while. I'm glad we could do this, and I hope we do it again soon, man. Always a lot to talk about around these parts.
For sure. Anytime we're going to have to get that CFB 25 running.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about that before. We still got to run that up too. So plenty to do.
We'll be scheming. Y'all stay tuned. We got some things in the works. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good rest of your day. This has been the Verdin.